Hi everybody, we're starting this video at the Independence Visitor Center. If you take a tour here, you start off upstairs. There's a Christus statue and there's an audio recording with a spiritual message. And then after that you go downstairs and they have a reproduction of a cabin like what you would have found here at the time that the saints were here. And then you go into another room which is a reproduction of the Phelps Printshop. And it was Phelps that was printing the first copies of the Book of Commandments, which later became Doctrine and Covenants. And if I remember right, it was 63 sections. So he was going to print all these small copies of the Book of Commandments, and then of course the mob attacked and destroyed the print shop. So they show that to you. They talk about the story of the two girls that saved all these uncut pages of the Book of Commandments, Mary Elizabeth Rollins and her sister Caroline. And then we'll let this car pass. And then there was another man, 25 years old, by the name of John Taylor. Not the same John Taylor who became president of the church. It was a different John Taylor. But the three of them saved enough of those pages to preserve the Book of Commandments. The two girls went and hid in a nearby cornfield. And so people will come here, visit Independence, they'll go to the Independence Visitor Center, and then usually they'll just cross the street right there and go to the temple lot, and then maybe they'll come over here and look at the Community of Christ temple. There's a few things to see over here. I'll make another video and we'll look at this again. But usually that's it, and then they'll go. Just a little while ago, maybe I think it was sometime last week, I saw a family cross the street. They went over to the corner of the temple lot. They were just on the sidewalk where you have a sign that says temple lot. They took a picture in front of it, and then that was it. And then they started going back to the parking lot. And I ran over and I was like, hey, I talked to the father. The rest of the family just kept walking. I was like, did you know that there are stones up there that mark the corners of the temple, and there's some signs that you can read? And they weren't interested. Now, I don't know, maybe they were pressed for time, but it's unfortunate because there's more to see here. I just want to point this out. I'm not going to read it. You can pause and read this if you'd like. But here in Independence, you have all these Civil War signs too. And then there's the Community of Christ temple. So the thing that's interesting to me is that recently I found what's called the Missouri Mormon walking trail, and it starts at the temple lot. It's a series of 14 plaques that are embedded in the sidewalk all around, you know, different locations in Independence, and one of them is the location of Phelps Printshop. So you see a reproduction of it in the visitor center, but then you can just go a short ways. You can even walk like what I'm doing right now and go see the actual location where it would have been. And so that's what we're doing in this video. It's a nice day. It's in the 80s, so I'm looking forward to fall and winter when it's not so warm. I don't know how humid it's going to be, but this summer has been pretty brutal between the heat and the humidity. From what I've read in the news, it seems that this has been a pretty rainy year for this for this part of the, well, for the Kansas City area. So I guess that's probably contributed a lot to the humidity. But anyway, the idea is to take you to all these markers. For right now, I'm just going to basically do them one by one. In the last video, we went to 2 because they went together. They were the 2 house sites of houses that Governor Boggs owned in Independence. I may do another video where we do a few at a time. I don't quite have it all planned out yet. But in this one, just one. But yeah, if you come here and you go to the Independence Visitor Center, the Temple Lot, you might consider doing this Missouri Mormon walking trail because there's a lot more to see. You know, they don't all have a visitor center for each one of these spots. Who knows what it'll look like in the future. But if you have the time, I would recommend it. And probably in the winter sometime, I'll probably try and do the whole thing, like do a video recording the whole thing. Here's one of them right here at this bus stop. We'll do a video on that another day. Yeah, but when it's cooler, I want to do a long video. I don't know how long it's going to take. Probably something like an hour to an hour and a half, and do the entire trail. Over here, you have the headquarters of Remnant Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They have a visitor center. It's on the other side. And this is a splinter group from the RLDS Church, which of course no longer exists, or it's been rebranded to Community of Christ. They didn't agree with the changes, and so they are a splinter group from that tradition. I've done a video of the inside of this building. That floor right there where you see the blinds closed, that's where they have the sanctuary. So if you go back on my channel, you'll see a video that I did where I got this personal tour with their prophet president, Terry W. Patience. He showed me the whole building. I'm probably going to be able to go back and record more in the future, but for right now, go watch that video. And that floor that I was just pointing out with those closed, the blinds that were closed, that's their sanctuary. And it's meant to be like a temple space, kind of like a temporary temple. He was telling me that in their church, they believe that that's a location that the Savior could return before the official second coming and make an appearance there. Under his presidency, oh, and by the way, that was the sanctuary was dedicated in 2023, so it's a pretty new development in their church. But there's a few things that have gone along with that development. Under his presidency, they have started doing solemn assemblies, which of course it would not be the same as in our church, but however they view a solemn assembly. And then the same thing with, so that's the first development. The second one is the School of the Prophets. So he's holding these meetings with, you know, other men in the church and calling it the School of the Prophets, like what used to be done in the early days of the church with Joseph Smith and church leadership. And then a third thing that's come along with the sanctuary is the washing of feet. Now, because they are, you know, split off, they're branched off from the RLDS and Community of Christ. They don't accept our temple rites and ordinances and ceremonies. So the washing of feet for them will not have the same significance that it would to us. But those are the three things that they're doing now. So it's an interesting time for them. Oh yeah, and then I had wondered before, I think on my other channel, about this Peace Pavilion. I looked it up, and it is associated with Community of Christ. So just wanted to point that out. All right, so we can start to see historic downtown Independence. You might be able to make out the Jackson County Courthouse, which is this like steeple right here. And the site for the W.W. Phelps Printshop is like not too far away from there. Again, I'm still trying to assess it, but I think the best way to visit the church sites in Missouri, if you have enough time, is I think that you should do it by county. Like, I think one day you should do the sites that are here in Jackson County, and then also Clay County. That's where you have the Liberty Jail. There's also some Alexander Donovan sites that you can see just south of the Liberty Jail. But I feel like Clay County and Jackson County would go together pretty well for like one day, and then maybe on the other day you would do Davies County and Caldwell County. So you would see Adamonte-Ammon in Davies County. If you have time, you got Gallatin, which is not too far from Adamonte-Ammon. There's a sign there that you can read. That's where you had the election skirmish that essentially sparked the Mormon War that led to the extermination order. And then in Caldwell County, you can go to Far West. You have Hans Mill. And then, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Far West, Hans Mill. Well, down the street from Far West, you have the cabin of Elder Richard, oh my gosh, I'm doing it again, Elder Charles C. Rich. I was there for the dedication. That's just a few videos ago. I recorded some of it. There's also Breckenridge, which is where they have the millstone from Hans Mill. There's a city park, and there's a little monument there that has the original millstone. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. It's hard to think. At least it is for me as you're walking. It's all warm outside. Anyway, and then after that, I guess I would just kind of squeeze in Ray County, or make it its own day as part of your trip. Ray County is where you have Richmond. So you have the two cemeteries in Richmond. The one where you have David Whitmer's grave, and then the other one is the Richmond Pioneer Cemetery, and you have Oliver Cowdery that's buried there, and I always forget the name, but I think it's Jacob Whitmer that's buried in that same cemetery, and then other pioneers. Also in Ray County, not in Richmond, it's kind of close to Excelsior Springs, you have the burial site of Hiram Page. who was also one of the 8 witnesses. His grave is just like off of this dirt road, just off to the side. And I think it's technically in Crystal Lakes. I think that's the name of the town. But anyway, and then back in Richmond, you also have markers for David Whitmer's home, as well as his livery stable. And then there are the 3 locations where the saints were jailed. You have the old log building where Joseph Smith was held, where he rebuked the guards. It's like an empty lot. There's a sign in front of it and then a white picket fence. But then there's also the old Ray County Jail, which held other church leaders. And then where the Ray County Courthouse is, that was another site. So there's like 3 jail sites there. Okay, so anyway, and there's, you know, there's more sites, but I'm thinking that that's probably the best way to do it. Okay, there's the Jackson County Courthouse right there. And across the street from the courthouse, you see the Gilbert Whitney and Company store. That location has been owned by various owners throughout the years. And from what I understand, the most recent owners are the ones that like renovated it, kind of like reconstructed it to look like how it did when it was owned by Gilbert and Whitney, Newell K. Whitney, and I can't remember the full name of Gilbert, but Newell K. Whitney and Gilbert. Okay, so there's a few plaques in the sidewalks around here. We'll hit those up on another day. But you see the Jackson County Courthouse. You turn to the right, and it's just right over here. It's right in front of this Mixed Mutt and Company store. There's this app that you can get. I think it's called Journey to Zion. I'm not sure if they're aware of all 14 plaques, but it was because of that app that I first found this marker. But it turns out it's only one of a series of 14. And here it is right here. Okay. This is marker number 8, printing office, lot 75. Church printer W.W. Phelps published the first paper in Independence, the Evening and the Morning Star, in June 1832. On July 1833, the printing office was demolished. Missouri Mormon Frontier Foundation. So obviously nothing remains of the print shop. What I've read is that the Phelps family lived on the first floor, and then the second story was for the print shop. But it would have been somewhere in this location. And I think all these markers basically just mark the lot where the Missouri Mormon Frontier Foundation knew that there was a significant site. So I don't think that you could say that, like, if we were to travel in the past, that like the front door would be right here. I think this just generally marks the lot. That's why most of these markers at the top right, it'll say lot, you know, whatever. In this case, 75. So I don't know, if you don't have very much time when you visit here, at the very least, after you go to the Independence Visitor Center and the Temple lot, maybe just drive over here and then be in the actual location where the print shop was. And in this area, if you go just right over there, literally on the other side of this like parking area, that's where the original courthouse is that's mentioned in scripture, and there's a marker for that. And then, like I said, there's a couple markers over here just around the town square, including one that's at the Jackson County Courthouse. So anyway, that's it for this one. I'll talk to you guys later.